Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be over the finale of the Flash series that has been running for the last 9 years. If you like this video, please consider subscribing, leave a like, and all that. But we're going to jump right into it. The Flash finale. It is kind of coming in with a little bit of mixed reviews. There is good, there is bad. We'll kind of go over a little bit of everything. But my personal opinion, these last 4 episodes were better than the entire season for the most part. Aside from the Oliver Queen episode, which was a very good episode, it was a very welcomed episode to see Oliver come back, to see Stephen Amell come back and reprise this role, give some kind of full circle moments to his character, give some better closure than we got in the initial end of Arrow and everything. So seeing that episode, that was just a very good episode all around. It was good in writing, good in acting and everything. But the rest of the season, you could probably skip it and you wouldn't really miss anything. The whole Red Death arc was very much a bad go-around. The story that they had laid out for that character and everything was just not worth watching. But kind of getting past all that and getting into this last episode that we just got, the good being this story arc for The Flash, to close it out, to say goodbye to the Arrowverse, was good. It was better than we had gotten previously in the season and everything. And to see Eddie Thawne come back and do his thing and know that this is Eddie Thawne, the Eddie Thawne that we lost way back at the end of Season 1. This is not a clone. This is not a time remnant. This is him. He was brought back by the Negative Speed Force, and for the sole purpose to make him the new Avatar. And just to kind of wave in front of him and kind of tease and taunt him with the life that he could have. Sadly, he does fall for it, but it does play out for the better in the end of the season. And to see them bring back all these classic villains, we of course got Reverse Flash, we got Zoom, we got Godspeed, and we got Savitar. That is also another good part about the season closeout, or about the series closeout. And I really enjoyed the story, and just having them kind of bring things full circle and not go to the extremes of having to absolutely kill someone off. We got kind of teased a little bit with that in the trailer for the last episode, but it kind of comes around, and that is not the case. Now, the whole story arc behind these last few episodes of The Flash is all about the Negative Speed Force bouncing Barry back and forth through different points in time while they are trying to sway Eddie in their direction, get him around to their mode of thinking and everything, and to attack them through different points in time. And then we finally get Barry back to present day, and this is where Eddie brings back all of these old villains, and they are brought back at the points at which they died and everything. So they come back not realizing that they are dead. This is the world without them. And all of this is good and well, but here's kind of where it loses me a little bit. We get all these classic villains come back ready to throw down with Team Flash, and they just kind of tease this big epic battle. And in the end, all of these villains are snuffed out rather quickly. And then we got things like Cecile, who can randomly fly. I've never seen her fly through any other episodes, and then just all of a sudden she's up in the air and she's throwing mind beams or whatever you want to call them, and just they take these villains and they are just done. They are not really a challenge. They are not really the problem that they are meant to be through the series finale and building it up to what it is, and just it kind of takes a hard left turn, and then we don't get any of that. Yes, there are the kind of precious moments where Nora is there to be in the presence of her own birth, but then they kind of teased in the trailer that she could possibly die, with Savitar stabbing her through the back, but at the same time she self-vibrates or whatever, or she phases, and the blade just goes right through her, and then she turns around, stabs out Savitar, and he's done. And just, it's little things like that that they took these big villains, and they were supposed to be these great foes of Barry Allen, and they're just snuffed out entirely too quickly. And that kind of, in my opinion, that kind of took away from the episode and took away from what the series has been the last 9 years. Yes, the writing has definitely been up and down for the last few seasons, and some seasons are definitely better than other seasons. But they took all these villains, they brought them in, and then they were just kind of snuffed out, and then they're forgotten about. And we get around to kind of the main plot of the story, which was that there needs to be balance between the positive Speed Force and the negative Speed Force. We get this kind of showdown between Barry and Eddie Thawne, who is obviously under the sway of the Negative Speed Force. He's been shown this life that he could have had, and he's just filled with all this rage and hate towards Barry, thinking that he's the reason that he doesn't have this life. He's the reason that he died in the first place. And so they have their back and forth and everything, and then during kind of a last little bit of the fight, we get Jay Garrick coming back, who just out of nowhere steals Eddie's speed, and just this really kind of lackluster moment and everything. And so it's just kind of this little fight that turns into Barry and Eddie Thawne coming to an understanding that there has to be a balance between the two speed forces, and they just kind of come to an understanding, and there's no longer the threat from the negative speed force. Eddie has taken control of it. He's not going to give in to the hate and anger that the negative speed force is constantly spewing out, and why it turned Eobard and the choices that he made. He was kind of fueled by the same thing, as this hatred towards Barry, and he takes the negative speed force and just completely gives into it, and that's why he becomes what he is. So they kind of decide to go in the opposite direction with Eddie, and he decides that he's not going to do that. He's not going to give into the hate and everything, and the pity party he's kind of throwing himself for the fact that he doesn't have the life that he wants to have. He kind of just takes it as a chance to start a new life, be a different type of avatar for the negative speed force. And then that's kind of how they close it all out. They come to this understanding that this cannot go on. This cannot be as it is and continue the same vicious cycle of just fighting back and forth, and the negative speed force inevitably having to get yet another avatar because maybe this one gets killed, because they reveal, they kind of go down the line. We have all these different speedsters come along, be the avatar or just be evil in general, and then Eddie comes along and decides it cannot go on this way, and he is happy for Iris. He's no longer spiteful against the fact that she is with Barry having his children, and she is not with him having his children, and just it kind of brings things in a full circle kind of moment. We get this closing scene of Barry speeding through the city and going through what seems to be the airfield from the first season, where he is learning how to use his powers and everything, but he recounts how Oliver told him that the lightning chose him, and he is now going to do the choosing, and winds up this electrical charge, shoots it up in the sky, and it spreads out into 3 different directions, and he reveals who the lightning is going to pick. Now, these are obviously flashes from the comics that are different variations. We have Avery Holmes, Max Mercury, and Jess Chambers, who are all different types of Flash speedsters from the comics and everything. So it left the potential for spin-offs, but sadly spin-offs I doubt we will ever see, just because of the ownership that is now in place at the CW. But as far as the Flash coming to a close and the last 9 years, it was the right time for sure, because with this show coming to a close, we do of course have the close of the Arrowverse and all the shows that came along with it, and the span of heroes and everything. It was the right time to bid this universe goodbye, because it was teetering on the brink of being too much. And then they had the Justice U show that was in development, that was going to be a Diggle-led show that would continue the Arrowverse. Honestly, thank God they passed on that. They decided they were not going to do that, and they were just going to take the loss and be more or less thankful that they had the success that they did with this universe as long as they did, because with the new ownership and everything, they have made it 100% clear they are all about profits. They are not going to dump money into these shows that make them no profits. And with the constant flux with Netflix deals and HBO Max deals and just everything in between, it's better off that it is closing out and we are not going to get any further shows, at least through the CW platform. It is done, and I have to say thank God, because they were going to run it into the ground. Because with the close of the Arrowverse, we still do have a couple lingering DC properties within the CW, but chances are they won't be for much longer, because we have the much hated Gotham Knights. From the time the trailer premiered and everything, no one had anything good to say about that. It looked terrible, the acting was terrible, the story was stupid, and just it was a real reach for the CW with its previous ownership. And I would not be surprised if that is canceled, because they have not announced one way or another. So chances are it's going to get canceled, because they did the same thing with the Winchesters. They waited till last minute and just said, okay, we're done. This also came on the heels of the fact that Jensen Ackles took his production company and split. And so that just leaves the fate of Superman Lois. Maybe they'll get one more season, but they are pretty vocal about the fact that Superman Lois is incredibly expensive to produce, and with them wanting to move towards being a profitable company or profitable network, chances are it will get canceled. Maybe at the end of this season, maybe they'll get one more. I really doubt it though, just because the era of DC TV within the CW verse is done. I think it's at this point they should just walk away and just be kind of grateful for what they had, and we can kind of cut ties and say goodbye to the CW as it was, because from this point forward, it's going to be a completely different network and just not worth watching anymore. But kind of with that tangent on the tail end of The Flash, it was a good closeout for The Flash, and I'm grateful that we did get a proper closeout and we didn't get a cancellation out of nowhere, and it was decided amongst the cast and everybody that this is the time to say goodbye and just take it in a direction that we want to take it. Yes, it was a season that was cut short considerably to the other seasons, but at the same time, it was for the better, because they could have just taken certain stories and dragged them on. And for me anyways, I have become rather jaded about the whole thing, and it's just better that it closed out and they're done. But anyways, guys, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like down below. Subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it. Please check out my TikTok as well. I'm at CrickedChicken7. And until next time, guys, I will see you later. Bye.